What's up, everybody? It's your shot Buie back again. Consider hitting that like and subscribe button as I upload videos on a weekly basis covering the hottest topics in sports, especially if it is OU related. This is Ballin' with Buie. Today, the Brooms came out in softball as Oklahoma swept Texas in the 3-game series. Again, another mercy rule. It was never close, so let's dive right in. A little pregame statistics. OU already clinched the series coming into the game. They won the first 2 games by a combined margin of 21-3. In Game 3, freshman Nicole May got the start on the mound for OU, and then Shea O'Leary was back on the mound for Texas after being pulled after allowing 5 runs in the first inning in Game 1 of the series. OU's won 20 straight games against Texas, and since 2014, the scoring margin has been 122-32, and that is an insane statistic. But first inning, Texas 3 up, 3 down, and then OU had hot starts in the first inning in Game 1 and Game 2. Game 1, they had 5 runs. Game 2, they had 4 runs. But in Game 3, they got sat down in order for the first time all series. So it was 0-0 after the first inning, which was a surprising score when you saw the scores from the other 2 games coming in. But rolling into the second inning, OU found themselves in trouble. Texas got the leadoff hitter on for only the second time all series that they got the leadoff hitter on base. But the leadoff hitter got on, and then that was followed by a walk that May allowed, and then a single to load the bases with no outs. Now, the bases are loaded with 0 outs. You expect some runs to come across the board, but May locked him down. She got ice in her veins. She got the 2 first batters out. The first one came due to a pop out, and then the next 2 she struck out. That's what you want to do. It was a pop up near the infield, so the runners weren't able to tag, and then she struck out the next 2 batters to send it to the bottom of the second inning, where OU was able to do some damage because OU got their first 2 batters on base due to an error and then a single. The error, I believe, was by the pitcher. I think she misfielded the ball and allowed OU's base runner to get on first, and then a single to put runners on first and second. And then Snow ended up having a sac fly to get the first run of the game, first run across the board for OU. And then Jana Johns followed that up with a 2-run home run, because that's what we do. We hit homers, we hit bombs to give OU a 3-0 lead, and that's all the runs that would come across the board in the second inning. And going into the third, again, Texas loaded the bases, this time with 1 out. They were able to load the bases with a couple singles, and May struck out the next batter to get that second out, and then the last out she got due to a pop-up. So Texas left 6 stranded through 3 innings. They loaded the bases twice. First time, no outs. Second time, 1 out. And they didn't get a single run across the board. And that was a mistake. You got to score runs when you're playing considerably one of the greatest on the path to be one of the greatest college softball teams in history. They're definitely the best team in the nation this year. With that being said, you got to put runs across the board if you're going to beat OU. Going into the bottom of the third, that's where OU made most of their noise. They got 2 on with 1 out after a single and a walk, and then Jada Coleman does her thing. She hit a 3-run home run with 2 outs to double up the score, and then Lindsay Elam, I don't really know how to pronounce her name still. But anyways, she followed that up with a solo shot, because once again, that's what we do, we hit bombs. And Molly Jacobson replaced Shea O'Leary after that. She gave up a career-high 7 runs, and that would be the score at the end of the third, 7-0 OU. And not to overstate or exaggerate or anything, but Texas is Shea O'Leary is a very good pitcher. I mean, she could be an All-American. She is playing for a top 10 team in the country, and she was on a hot streak coming into the series, and OU tore her up. But moving on, going into the 4th inning, 1-2-3 inning for Texas. May sat them down, and their last out came after a Texas batter hit it into the outfield, and she tried to go for a double, and Coleman, she doing that thing again in the outfield, fucking gunned her down at second base to get the last out of the inning. And then you roll it over to the bottom of the fourth, and Jennings, like she's been doing all series, hit a 2-run home run because she has homered in each game. She homered in game 1, she homered in game 2, and now hit a 2-run home run in game 3. And after that, Riley White replaced Jacobson on the mound for Texas after a 9-0 lead was built, and that's what the final score would end up being. Because rolling into the 5th, it was easy work for the pitching staff because Nicole May got the first out. And then they pulled her, I think, just to get another pitcher some work, because there's really no sense in leaving her in. That's what Patty Gasso did the first 2 games. She let her 2 pitchers pitch all the way through the 5th, but I guess she decided to pull Nicole May, and she put Elena Thied in to get those last 2 outs. She's a sophomore. She's only pitched 8 1/3 innings this year, so she was able to get those 2 outs, both due to ground outs to secure the win. So Oklahoma whoops up on Texas once again, only takes 5 innings, once again with a 9-0 victory. OU improves to 33-0 on the year. They have been dominant throughout the entirety of the year. They just dominated the 8th best team in the country for 3 games. Teams can have a bad day. Teams can perform poorly for a day, but you don't get dominated in an entire series and say, oh, we just played bad. No, you got dominated because OU is that good. Let's talk about some of their streaks. OU, 40-game win streak, 3rd longest ever. They had a 41-game win streak in 2019. I definitely expect them to surpass that. Their next game is against Georgia on Tuesday. That's going to be a doubleheader. Georgia is another ranked opponent in the top 25. I think they're at 20 right now. We'll see if they're still sitting at 20 when those games roll around. But again, quality competition. They've won 61 straight Big 12 games, 52 straight in the regular season. 61 straight Big 12 games. That is insane. They've won 21 straight games now against Texas. Texas, pathetic. Anyways, they won all 3 games by a combined score of 31-3. So not only can we swing the bat, not only are we going to bring in an enormous amount of runs across the board, you cannot hit us. We dominated with our gunslinger, Giselle Juarez, and then we had Shannon sling also, and then we had Nicole May sling. We had 3 pitchers that absolutely dominated this series, and that's scary if I'm the opposing team and I'm looking across and I'm like, okay, I banged up this pitcher, but then I got this pitcher that's just as good coming in behind her, and then there's another one that can come in right behind her. OU is all across the board easily the best team in the country, and like I said, potentially could be one of the greatest teams of all time, if not the greatest team of all time, depending on how the season ends. But with that being said, OU continues the winning streak. They continue the hot streak. In Texas, they're gonna try. They got to rebound if they want to be able to make some noise in the tournament. I know it's a couple weeks away, but they're gonna have to recover, or they're gonna be sitting at home fairly early in that tournament. But I'll see y'all later. Deuces.